mean, isn't it beautiful to know that anytime you're on the street of social media, there's always something to talk about, to be glittery, to be happy about. Anyway, that's why I am here to ensure that you do not miss out on any bit of it. Welcome to TMI Silver Shield. I am Onanuga Stevens. Better still call me a social media butterfly. Now, a couple of days ago, we actually had El-Rufai in the news. He actually granted an interview on a national television platform, and he said so many things in that interview. Well, in response to some of the revelations he brought out, the special advisor to the President Bola Tinubu on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, has said that he believes the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, is hot because he was blocked from being a minister in the Tinubu's administration. El-Rufai, who has been critical of Tinubu's government in recent times, claimed on Monday night during an interview that Tinubu, not the National Assembly, blocked his nomination as a minister after initially asking him to be part of the government. Take a listen to him.
As a person, I think I will pity former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai.
Pity.
It feels odd that he was not made a minister. I think it's a long time now. The ministers we came in August 2023. I think it's time for him to move on. You cannot continue to behave like a child, as if somebody stole your bread and things like that, and then you are crying over a spilt milk, as we say. It's natural for him to feel hurt. It's natural for him to feel bad that he's been excluded. And I think as the president acknowledged in the recent birthday tribute to him, Nasir actually helped a lot in installing President Tinubu. And if he's not there, it doesn't mean that he must bring down the roof. Nothing has animosity against Nasir. I said Nasir feels naturally hot that he has been excluded. And that's why he's going about everywhere campaigning against the president and so on.
You heard it loud and clear. Stop behaving like a child that is stole your bread. Move on. That really got me though. But anyway, how have you been reacting to this story on social media? Let's have a couple of tweets and reactions to hear your thoughts. This user says, El-Rufai is not hot because he wasn't made a minister. He was hot because they broke their promise. I mean, after doing a lot of work during the last election. Anyway, another user says something else on the story. Let's have a feel. So Joseph says, I wonder what kind of system our leaders are building. In Nigeria, positions are often used as tools of compensation, not because the individuals are qualified, but because they are loyal. When will the youth take over power, and when will they truly become the leaders of tomorrow? Good question there. Still on the story. Moving over to something else, this user says, it appears these guys forget that El-Rufai was Minister of FCT under OBJ, that's Obasanjo. Why are they making it look as though it is a position he has never occupied? Now finally on the story. Okay, so I think that's all we have on the story. Well, away from that, now, last week we saw a bit of brouhaha happen at the Senate chambers with Senator Natasha Akpoti. Well, in a new development, the Senate has unanimously voted to refer Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions for disciplinary review following her recent seating arrangement dispute. Well, the Kogi Senator had engaged in a shouting match on February 20th after discovering that her seat had been changed without her consent. Now, the committee, chaired by Senator Ned Imaswe, has been given 2 weeks to report back on its findings. While the decision was reached following a voice vote after lawmakers revisited the controversy surrounding the recent altercation between Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate leadership over seat allocation, with lawmakers underpinning the need to uphold preliminary rules and decorum. Now, in case you forgot what happened last week, let me remind you with this video. Take a look. Well, the part where she said, Senate President, I am not afraid of you. Got a lot of persons talking last week online, but let's have your thoughts on this new development concerning the story. This user says, all those beating the drums of stubbornness for Senator Natasha and clapping for her because for disobeying the rules and regulations of the Senate chamber, which she swore to obey, will not be there to face whatever discipline will be given to her. Well, another user says she is not the first to be referred to the disciplinary committee. She worsened her case by the needless media attention. Nigerians we hail, but it is her constituency that will suffer. While still in this beat, couple of thoughts on the story. Abel says, Your Excellency, Senate President, everyone in the House, I think, needed to be given equal rights and opportunity to air their views and be also considered where necessary. And now finally on the story. Okay, so moving over to another reaction to another story, so to say. In another development, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has filed a lawsuit against Senate President Godswill Akpabio for allegedly defaming her. Now, in the suit filed before the Federal Capital Territory High Court on Tuesday with Akpabio and his senior legislative aide, Patrick, listed as second to third defendants in the suit, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, through her lawyer, Victor Giwa, referred to Akpabio's words published by his aide on Facebook page retitled his local content committee of the Senate Natasha's birthright, where he stated that the claimant thought being a lawmaker is all about pancaking her face and wearing transparent outfits to the chambers. Giwa alleged that the statement on Akpoti-Uduaghan was defamatory, provocative, and disparaging, and lowered her dignity in the eyes of her colleagues and the right-thinking members of the public. And yes, so that particular picture was flying left, right, center on social media yesterday. Now, how did you take this online? Social media users, netizens, let's see what you have to say. This user says, please, let her go to the highest length. This is too embarrassing. While still in the story, another user says something else. Let's take a look. Senator Natasha is not a pushover. She came out as the best graduating student in law in Uni Abuja. She's got brains. Another user says, women in leadership, they do too much sometimes and find it difficult to admit they are wrong. That's why the leadership position, no, they last for their hand. One small authority like this, they act like they are God. She can never win the case. It's obvious she doesn't have good people to give her advice. Okay, we'll see how things pans out with that one. But away from that saga, let's move over to Enugu State, where Enugu State House of Assembly moves to stop outrageous house rent in the state and review landlord tenancy laws. Now, that's the picture that was on social media yesterday and it's still on. If we could just go back to it. So what this law basically seeks is, number one, to ensure that anyone who wishes to be a land agent or manager must be certified. Number two, that there is a 10% ceiling for both agency and legal fees. The percentage can be negotiated lesser, but never above 10%. Number three, that the tradition of caution fee be prohibited. I think I like this one. Number four, that a defined duration for notices is stipulated. And number five, that a government ministry or agency is given the pass to make further regulations on housing issues in Enugu State. Now, how the netizens take this? Okay, yes, and that also was flying on the street of socials yesterday. Now, moving over to a couple of tweets. This user says on Instagram, the agents are not to be exempted. Not them. They even tell landlords to increase rents. How banal. Another user says, house rent should be regulated according to the area, considering the minimum. Well, you can't get money you spent in building a house in 5 years for a house that won't last 100 years. Moving over to other stories, this user has something else to say. Let's take a look. Now this one says, can we whistleblow on agents? I'm just asking. Well, finally in the story. Okay, away from that, now let's move over to the footballing scene, where this time around, in reaction to what a particular footballer said, that's Jimia Karaja, Rio Fernanda gave a balanced view concerning his disparaging remark about the AFCON. Well, while Rio largely disagreed with Jemia's scoffing at the Africa Cup of Nations, he accepted some of the Liverpool's legends' point about the role AFCON plays in the Ballon d'Or voting. Well, basically, he was trying to say that AFCON shouldn't be looked down upon, and it should actually be on the same levels with the likes of other international, sporting events in the world. Now, let's listen to him verbatim.
That comment is representative of the majority of people out there would say that. I don't think that's right. I think that's an ignorant kind of thought process, because the African Nations Cup, if you go to Didier Drogba, Abidi Pele, over there, Samuel Eto'o, down to the players now, Mahrez, Mo Salah, Mane now, they'll tell you that we have to win this. Huge. It's a demand in their countries to win this. Yes, it doesn't get back resources-wise like Euros, etc. But doesn't that mean that you have to devalue it? It's a continent of huge power, a continent that contributes to European football through players immensely, massively. Like the amount of players that are representing football clubs in Europe and winning things from the African continent is like
crazy.
Now, how the footballers take this on social media? Let's have a couple of tweets on the story. This user said, how many of those African teams have won the World Cup? Respect is earned, not given, Mr. Roy. That's Jersey on X. Another user says, let's see what we have. Well, this time around, another tweet coming up right now. If I could have another tweet. But anyway, I remember a couple of users saying, well, anyway, this user says, AFCON needs to be played in the summer, always. Having it in January or while most leagues are playing is so lazy. Needs to coordinate the tournaments. Can't have players missing a few months action for their clubs. Another user says still, Courage has lost my respect. Okay, Eddie has that to say. And then finally, on the story, agree. I also feel FIFA needs to invest more in the tournament. Like, even if you're not interested in watching the Euros, it's hard to avoid because it's all over TV. On the other hand, catching AFCON feels like you have to search the dark web. Ouch. Anyway, a lot of things to talk about, Evans. What's your say?
To talk about on the social media segment. I was following the story that has to do with Natasha, and I reserve my comment because anything that has to do with Natasha, I'm being careful. Remember the Natasha Two-Face story in Maine?
Really?
And of course, I know that Natasha in the National Assembly. So let's see how it goes. And I think the committees that have been set up to investigate the allegations and all that will do a thorough job.
Yeah, but a lot of Nigerians feel she might get suspended eventually.
Well, let's see how it goes.